Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We are going to listen to the terrifying story of Laura Wallen.
A Sunday adventure, as her boyfriend, Tyler Tessier, called it. The Maryland countryside is breathtaking with rolling hills, lush fields, and vibrant green trees. Tyler eventually pulls off the road, stops the vehicle, and gets out to make a phone call. Laura is so excited. They have a baby on the way. Was Tyler finally going to ask her to marry him? Was that the reason they were in this huge open field? She sends a text to her sister, Jennifer Cotty. Her sister wants to see, so Laura takes a picture of the landscape and sends it to her sister's phone. It really was a beautiful place. The reason why they were there would be revealed very soon. Before we begin, we would like to send our deepest sympathies to the loved ones of Laura Wallen and baby Reed Wallen, who fell victim to the abominable acts described in this case. Laura Wallen was a 31-year-old teacher of social studies at Wild Lake High School in Columbia, Maryland. She loved her job and her students. She'd even been named Teacher of the Year in 2016. The new school year was about to start, and Laura had been so excited about it. She'd even decorated her classroom for the upcoming first day. So, on September the 5th, 2017, it made no sense for her not to show up for the first day of school. When the school called her family and told them that she hadn't shown up for work, they knew that this wasn't like Laura, and they grew concerned. The family called local police and requested a welfare check on their daughter at her home address in Olney, Maryland. When police arrived, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, except that Laura and her vehicle were gone. The report back from the police did not ease the family's concerns over their daughter's disappearance, especially since Laura was 4 months pregnant. The police reached out to Laura's boyfriend, Tyler Tessier, but he told them that he didn't know where she could be. Over 10 years of being in and out of a relationship was how it was with Tyler and Laura Wallen. Certainly a bumpy road for the couple, but they would break up and get back together time and time again. Tessier himself threw a wicked twist into the story eventually. He took on another girlfriend, a teacher like Laura. They even moved in together in 2012. Her name was Christina Wagner, all the while maintaining his relationship with Laura. He maintained them both because he lied about both. He would tell Laura that Christina was a nutty, obsessed female stalker, that they should just leave her alone due to her instability. And then Tessier would say the same thing about Laura to Christina. He'd even told Christina that Laura was schizophrenic. None of it was the truth, just lie upon lie to cover up the truth of how messed up Tessier really was. In July of 2017, Laura found out she was pregnant. She told her family about the pregnancy and admitted that it was Tessier's baby. Ever the gentleman and concerned father of Laura, Mark Wallen, met Tessier at the mall and posed a simple question to him. What do you intend to do? I love her and we're going to get married, Tessier told him as he revealed an engagement ring. Mark Wallen, of course, questioned Tessier about the other female in his life. He told Tessier that he had heard rumors of the other woman. Without batting an eye, he told Mark that he hadn't seen the other woman in a couple of years. Yet that night, Tessier went back to the apartment he was sharing with Christina. Using the very same ring he had shown to Mark, he proposed to her. A wedding would be underway, a wedding that would allegedly happen just a month after Laura was due to give birth. As July turned to August, Laura was preparing for the new baby and getting things ready for the beginning of the school year. But there was one thing that had put a dark spot on her happiness. Laura knew about the other woman. She'd even met her once, but when Laura discovered that Tessier was engaged to this woman while in a relationship with her, she wanted some answers. So, on August the 28th, 2017, Laura sent a text message to the other woman. She wanted an explanation. The other woman, Christina Wagner, was furious and texted Tessier about Laura contacting her. His response back: Christina wanted to speak to the police about what could be done to Laura. They went down to the police department and spoke to an officer. He told them both that they could take out stalking charges and get a protective order, but that all parties would have to be present in front of a judge and under oath. Tessier wanted none of that, so it was let go. On Labor Day weekend, Christina and Tessier were supposed to go out of town to Pennsylvania and do some shopping for bridesmaids' dresses, but Tessier faked a knee injury and Christina went on her own. Laura's family had made plans to go away for a holiday weekend, but Tessier told Laura that he had made plans for just the two of them, and she chose instead to spend her time with Tessier. Saturday rolled around and Tessier took her for dinner and then showed her different pieces of property. He told her he wanted to find a good piece of land to build a new house just for the two of them and the new baby that was on the way. They'd driven around so much that Laura didn't really even know where they were. So when Tessier pulled over on a particular piece of land and got out of the vehicle to make a phone call, Laura took the opportunity to text her sister Jen. When Tessier realized that Laura was texting her sister, he quickly took a picture of Laura with his phone and sent it along in a text to Jen. Unfortunately, it would be the last picture of her sister's sweet smiling face that she would see. On Sunday, Jen and Laura texted briefly. Laura told her sister that they were still on the adventure, no engagement though, and she wasn't feeling well that day. Early Monday, the text changed between Jen and Laura. Jen grew concerned about her sister and told her to call. They had always talked to each other about anything, but Laura kept texting instead of calling. Laura would never talk about something like this through text, and the name of the ex-boyfriend was misspelled as Antoine, when it should have been spelled Antoine. And Laura hadn't seen her ex in 2 years. It was then that Jen knew something wasn't right.
Her classroom was all set up for the start of the new school year. But on the first day, Laura Wallen never showed.
She was absent. Again, very unusual. I'm very committed to her job.
Wallen teaches social studies at Wild Lake High School. In 2016, she was awarded Teacher of the Year. On Monday, the day before the school year was set to begin, she reportedly sent a distressing text message to her family.
It is troubling that the family was alarmed enough to call the police department and get detectives to start investigating where she may be. So it was alarming enough that the family said we need to call police.
On Monday, September the 4th, when the family got back to Olney, Maryland, and her father went to Laura's home, where they found candles burning and Laura's dog inside, but no one was home. Laura's father sent her a text saying that she was upsetting them by being so evasive and that she needed to call, but Laura never called her father.
The missing teacher's father and sister did the same. They say she was 4 months pregnant. Pictures of her sonogram are posted on a refrigerator.
Totally torn our world apart. It's like a TV drama that you wish you could shut off, but you can't.
The Wild Lake teacher's sister may have been one of the last people to make contact with her before she disappeared.
I spoke with her on Saturday, just through text message, and then briefly on Sunday, and then I had one text message in the morning on Monday.
They even made contact with Tessier, asking him if he knew where Laura was. He said that he had dropped Laura off after their date. She had become angry and hysterically crying, telling him that she wanted her door key back and for him to leave. Then he told them that they were supposed to meet at the Nordstrom Cafe in the Columbia Mall the next morning, but she never showed up. Tessier said that he had gone back to Laura's to see why she hadn't come to the cafe as they agreed, but couldn't get in because he had returned his key. September the 5th would have been the first day of the new school year for Laura. She had worked for weeks on her lesson plans for the coming year. Laura was very devoted to her work and her students, so when she didn't show up for work that morning, everyone knew something wasn't right.
And when they started investigating, Wallen was not at her home in Olney.
We've never had any instances that's happening like living.
11 years. Joyce Robinson lives near Wallen. She didn't know her personally, but is thinking about her and her family.
I'm really praying for her. I hope she's okay.
A search was initiated of the neighborhood where Laura lived, and it was canvassed by police officers. They spoke to one neighbor who told them they had seen Tessier walking Laura's dog on September the 4th around 2:30 in the afternoon. Laura's 2011 black Ford Escape was also missing, so an alert was put out on that vehicle to all law enforcement officers. Volunteers came together to hand out missing persons flyers and to put up posters of Laura along with information about her. Appeals to the public for help in finding Laura were going out, and vigils were being planned.
Have you heard about the missing school teacher? A community effort to help find a beloved teacher.
Let them know that we feeling this just as much as them, bro.
Saquon Maxwell says he had Laura Wallen as a teacher, but says she's much more than that to so many people.
She's always willing to put her students first, so I know if one of us was in this situation, she would have been head on attacking it and in the streets just like we are.
He says they organized a meeting at Wild Lake High School where Wallen teaches on Saturday. A group of about 20 met up, got a stack of flyers, and hit the streets in Columbia. My heart goes out to her wherever she is.
I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I'm helping to find her. I feel like the more people that know what's going on, the faster we can find her.
A small group then went to Olney,
where
their former teacher lives. They went door to door, talking to neighbors and giving hugs into the evening.
She had a spot that she can't be on the classroom.
Spreading a message that Maxwell says hits too close to home.
The school needs her. We miss her. We need the love and the smile on the kid.
The group tells me they're not going to stop passing out these flyers and working to spread the word until she's found. In Olney, Amy O'Bear, ABC 7 News.
Mark and Gwen Wallen offered a reward to anyone who might have information about their daughter's disappearance.
We miss her and we love her, and it's one of the hardest things a father can do is have your child taken away way too soon, and all we want is for her to come back to us.
On Thursday, September the 7th, an employee from an apartment complex called Gramercy Place in Columbia, Maryland, called police to advise them that she had found a driver's license in a dumpster and the name on it was Laura Wallen. The employee also found a discarded cell phone near the license. Police responded and also found Laura's 2011 black Ford Escape backed into a parking space there with the front license plate missing. The Ford Escape was located less than a mile from the Wild Lake High School where Laura taught. Investigators would process the vehicle looking for any evidence that may have been left behind, a fingerprint, a hair, blood, or even a gum wrapper. Anything that could give them a lead as to what had happened to Laura. They would also process her home, go through her computer, interview friends and family, look through surveillance video, and talk to anyone that lived where the vehicle had been located, hoping that someone may have seen something that would help locate Laura. Police also found that the last transaction on her debit card occurred at a grocery store called Safeway in Olney. It was on September 2nd between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. They gathered surveillance footage from the store. She wasn't alone. Tessier was with her. Laura would be listed as a missing person for 9 days. She was 4 months pregnant. Detectives interviewed Tessier several times between September the 5th and the 11th. With each interview, Tessier gave conflicting information concerning Laura's disappearance. One story was that several men had kidnapped the two of them, killing her but sparing him because he begged for his life. Another story was that the two of them had been going into an argument. Tessier said Laura demanded her key back, which she returned at 8:30 a.m. that Monday morning. He told detectives that she'd been very upset, and he told her they needed to talk when she had calmed down. He said he told her they could meet at a cafe in the mall. When she hadn't shown up, Tessier said he went back to Laura's to see why she wasn't there, but no one was home. Yet a neighbor allegedly saw Tessier walking Laura's dog around 2:30 in the afternoon. A completely different story Tessier said that he had taken Laura's Ford Escape to the Gramercy apartments and had gotten rid of the front tag and her cell phone. This was alleged by Tessier to buy more time for Laura because she had said the father of the baby was not him. It was someone else, and she needed to figure out what to do. She needed to escape and think. Detectives knew through cell phone records that Tessier had been in that area since Laura's disappearance. They knew that Tessier had spent a good bit of time at the meat processing plant that's also located on the farm property. The owner was a close friend, and Tessier stayed there off and on. The next several days were a roller coaster ride of emotions for the family of Laura Wallen. Her family knew this was something uncharacteristic of Laura. She wouldn't just disappear without telling them something. Plus, she was very dedicated to her students and was looking forward to the new school year. Each day that passed, the collective concern grew for Laura and her unborn child. September the 11th was a turning point in the case of Laura Wallen, something the public was not privy to in the case of Laura Wallen, especially Tessier, was due to come out. The police investigators, along with Laura's parents, Mark and Gwen, came together for a news conference. What Tessier didn't know was that the press conference had been staged specifically to see if he would give himself away. Police already believed that Tessier had a hand in the disappearance of Laura. Her parents bravely sat beside the man who could have harmed their daughter, even going so far as to hold his hand.
You put the suspect in front of a camera because he's going to talk, and he may inadvertently say something or present something in a way that you know is not true.
Thank you all for coming here. Laura, if you're listening,
Stop.
doesn't matter what's happened. Doesn't matter.
Honey, stop. Okay? Back.
Doesn't matter what type of
Right
trouble.
there. Sit.
Nothing we can't fix together.
Sit. Okay.
Myself, your family. There's so many people that miss you. There's so many people that were up.
Eddie.
We haven't slept. We haven't eaten. We're just looking or praying that you're safe. And I'm asking to just let us know that you're safe. If somebody has her, please understand that you've taken away a huge person in so many people's lives. Friends and family, students that she has. I know what she means to me. I know what she means to everybody else. And we just want to know if she's okay. We just want her back. Super excited for the start of the school year. I know she had talked to her principal and her teachers, like her coworkers, about her being pregnant and how excited she was. And it's just a complete shock that I think leading up to the weekend that she's missing, I don't believe anybody has any inclination to think that something was wrong or. I'm sorry? Any of your last conversations with her? I don't know where she is. That's all. I don't know. I know we're all trying to do everything we can to find her, and I just pray that she's safe. She comes back. That's all I care about right now. Laura and I have known each other probably for 10 years now. We've, any normal relationship, just take one step at a time, and you take the progress that comes with you. And been to doctor's meetings. We've been to sonograms and all the prenatal care that you could ask. And sorry.
Montgomery County Police suspected Tessier's involvement early on. The statements he gave were very conflicting, and the idea of putting him in front of the cameras was to see if he would trip himself up. In doing so, several experienced people watched him as he talked. They watched his emotions and listened to see if there were any red flags thrown by Tessier. When questions were asked after Tessier spoke, the detective advised one reporter that they were still working on it as a missing persons case, that nothing at that moment indicated foul play, and they were still hot on the investigation. This may have been a slight bending of the truth, but they did not want to give Tessier any inkling that they viewed him as a suspect. During the week that Laura had been missing, the police were busy watching Tessier. It seemed he had made several trips back to the open field, at least 10 times, near the 12,400 block of Price's Distillery Road in Damascus, Maryland, 20.8 miles from Olney, Maryland. It's about 35 miles west of Washington, D.C. This was where he had taken Laura on their adventure during Labor Day weekend. The homeowner of the property and the farm had gone on vacation for the Labor Day weekend, so no one was home. The owner was in no way involved in Laura's disappearance, so this would be the perfect opportunity, the perfect place to make someone disappear. Tessier contacted a friend for a ride to Baltimore. He told the friend he needed help to clean up a mess, but the friend refused to help him. Unbeknownst to Tessier, detectives had placed trackers on his car, and they were monitoring his movements for a while. Then, on September 13th, with search warrants in hand, detectives traveled to the property in Damascus, Maryland, and began their search. There were several acres to the property, filled with woods and open fields. During their search, detectives found tire tracks that led to the back corner of one of the fields. It was 1.2 miles off the main roadway. With the help of canine cadaver dogs, a shallow grave was located. They found a purple material sticking out of the 10 by 10 foot grave, a possible match to Laura's shawl or vest that she had been wearing that fateful day. Laura had been found. Tyler Tessier was arrested for the murder of Laura Wallen.
At 5:30 p.m. this afternoon, Tyler Tessier, Mrs. Wallen's boyfriend, was arrested for her murder. Since Ms. Wallen was reported missing by her family 9 days ago, we've determined that Mr. Tessier was the last person known to have been with the victim.
The Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office would also be the one to determine if Tessier would be charged with the death of the unborn baby. The state attorney for Montgomery, John McCarthy, advised the court that Laura had been shot once in the back of the head with a .22 caliber rifle, with the bullet entering the brainstem. On the night before Laura was murdered, cell phone records show that Tessier made a call to the owner, friend of the property, where Laura would later be taken to. Tessier asked permission to access the safe where 4 .22 caliber rifles were stored. The weapon used in Laura's murder was not found, and investigators could not match the bullet recovered from Laura due to the heavy damage to the projectile. Prosecutors requested that the jury be allowed to go to the property so they could see the processing slaughterhouse facility called KS Cuts. The facilities process wild game and livestock.
They say he took her out to a field next to a slaughterhouse, an animal slaughterhouse owned by a friend. He took her out to that field and promised her that they would build a new house there for their new family. But instead of the house, they say, Tyler Tessier took one of the rifles that he borrowed from the slaughterhouse and shot Laura Wallen in the back of her head. They say it was exactly as you might execute an animal.
Tessier testimony will be admitted that the defendant knew exactly where to shoot, which would lead to Miss Wallen's death, according to the prosecutors. The defendant has executed hundreds of animals in the exact same manner in which he had executed Mrs. Wallen, prosecutors advised. Prosecutors also wanted the jury to see the skid loader that Tessier used to dig the shallow grave and bury Laura. The remoteness and inaccessibility of the area, other than by four-wheeler where the grave was, would show that Tessier was very familiar with the property. Tessier backed himself into a corner. He took the life of Laura Wallen after she attempted to make contact with another woman he was involved with. He allegedly lured Laura Wallen to the field in Damascus, Maryland with empty lies, shot her, and buried her. During the recorded interview on September 13, 2017, Tessier admitted after his lies about what had happened that he had gone back and shot Laura once in the head because he was concerned he had buried her alive. Tessier's lawyers tried to suppress the statement of his involvement, but it was voluntarily made, and they had to concede. Tessier had basically owned up to the murder. Sadly, the horrific acts committed against Laura Wallen hit a familiar chord with many. For one, the murder of Laci Peterson in 2002.
A California man is anxiously waiting to hear word on the mysterious Christmas Eve disappearance of his pregnant wife.
Her husband, Scott, quickly became a person of interest, giving this interview to ABC's Diane Sawyer.
Are you afraid police will arrest you?
No. I know there's no basis. I had nothing to do with her disappearance. So there's no possible evidence or anything like that.
But Laci Peterson wasn't the only person who became a victim of this type of crime. Also consider the Chris Watts and Susan Smith stories. Howard County Public Schools said in a statement on Wednesday night, "It is with a heavy heart that we share the news that Wild Lake High School teacher Miss Laura Wallen was found deceased tonight by Montgomery County Police." After learning about the tragic outcome of Laura Wallen, the Wild Lake students made a commitment to wear black in honor of her on that following Thursday. To help the community deal with the tragic news, the Howard County Mobile Crisis Team would be at the high school on Wednesday and Thursday nights. The community was pulling together not only for its residents, but also for the students, especially the students of Laura Wallen. She had been a dedicated and caring teacher to them, and many would have a hard time dealing with her death.
Miss Wallen was there with us. She was there. I felt it.
Saquon Maxwell is just one of Laura Wallen's many former students. He joined the Wild Lake High School community tonight to mourn the death of the beloved teacher.
We'll love her forever.
The pregnant teacher was missing for a week. Her body found by police Wednesday. Her boyfriend, now a suspect and in custody. Those here are devastated.
I love Miss Wallen dearly. The three of us love Miss Wallen dearly. And it just warms my heart to know that people really reacted to the unfortunate circumstances.
She's an amazing person. She truly is one of those special teachers that touches children here before she touches them up here.
Those at Wild Lake who knew her best, her students, and they were moved to tears thinking of the difference she made in their lives.
She made sure that I did what I had to do as a student, as a person, as a man.
Thank you forever. You helped me graduate high school. You motivated me. You motivated everyone else in the school.
Through hugs and tears, those that loved her tried to cope.
If we were missing or God forbid anything happened to us, she would have been the first one looking out for us.
On September 30th, 2017, Laura and her unborn son Reed were laid to rest at the Lutheran Church of St. Andrew in Silver Spring, Maryland. Over 1,000 people came to pay their respects and say goodbye. May they rest in eternal peace.
Jessica, Tyler Tessier had been in court all week long. There'd been no sign that anything was wrong. Today I was in court when the victim, Laura Wallen, her parents came inside and they met with prosecutors. They also listened as the judge dismissed the jury, saying that this was just a shocking development. Tyler Tessier was found dead in his cell this morning. Police say he committed suicide just hours before opening statements in his trial for the murder of his pregnant girlfriend, Laura Wallen, were set to begin.
On September the 6th, 2018, 1 year after Tyler Tessier had been charged with the murder of his pregnant girlfriend, he was found dead in his jail cell. Was the same morning that his trial was set to begin. Authorities say Tessier was found early Thursday morning in his cell, deceased. He had begun to prepare for court for the murder trial of Laura Wallen. He had awakened at 4 a.m., showered and dressed, and had breakfast at 4:45 a.m., preparing for court on the case. Tessier was later found hanging from a bedsheet that had been tied to the top bunk in his jail cell. The time he was found was 4:55 a.m. Tessier committed suicide within a 10-minute time frame between cell checks. He was alone in his cell and in a pod with just 15 others. Prosecutors adamantly called Tessier a psychopath and a coward. The family of Laura Wallen spoke out after Tessier was found dead in jail, criticizing him as someone who lied about everything and had never shown up for anything in the last 10 years. Wallen's brother-in-law, John Caddy, said that when he heard Tessier had committed suicide, he reminded his wife that it was his modus operandi. He had not been showing up for anything important for 10 years. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries. He did not show up. Why would he show up today? It's like to just say that he stood up our family for the last time today. That from John Cotty.
Andre, the students at Wild Lake High School, where Laura Wallen taught, named her Teacher of the Year, the second year in a row that she received this honor. But this time her parents accepted the posthumous award for her. Mark and Gwen Wallen called it a proud moment, but one of mixed emotions, saying they miss her every day beyond description.
The event honored Laura, Teacher of the Year, at every high school. Laura's parents were in attendance to the honor. Students saw Laura as going above and beyond for them. Laura had made a difference. The Wallens had established a scholarship fund in their daughter's name to benefit college-bound students at Lake Wild High School and to honor Laura's legacy. After the murder of Laura Wallen, her parents fought to have a law passed, making it easier to prosecute an individual for 2 murders when it involves a pregnant woman.
The bill was narrowly crafted to protect pregnant women from violent criminals. It does not have any bearing on medical or abortive procedures.
The proposed law protects a woman's right to choose to have a child and does not protect the intimate partner that chooses death for a pregnant woman over life.
2 years later, the bill was signed into law. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like the video. Comment down below with your take on it, and please subscribe to the channel. On your way out, don't forget to hit the notification bell in order to stay up to date each time we reveal a new shocking case. Until next time, stay safe and keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's lurking in the shadows.
I show up home from work that evening, and I park my truck in the driveway. My son come out to the house, and he's like, something happened to Natalia at the school. She fell, she hit her head, she's crying. I drove over there. When I got there, my daughter is crying, loud, and a lot of pain. She couldn't move her legs, neither one. She keeps saying over and over, I can't feel my legs. And I keep asking to her, what happened? She looked at me like she was like lost. She's like, I don't know what happened.
I'm like, how did I get here? Like, what's going on? I was like, I don't remember anything. Everything's blank.
It was very clear that this girl was on the sidewalk and that a car left the roadway and struck her.
We had tire track marks, impressions a motor vehicle had went up and over the curb, straddled the sidewalk, and then eventually came back down on the traveled portion of the road.
We learned Nicole Poole was 42 years old. She lived in the Des Moines metro area.
In the still photo, she was at the front door knocking on the door, but we didn't have any video after that.
According to talking to her ex-husband, she was there to see her daughter.
The time of her being in the area was right, but we had to find this Nikki Poole, and we needed to get her in for an interview.
We had found out several days later that she was in the Polk County jail.
Nikki Poole had gone to a convenience store in West Des Moines. She was clearly either under the influence or having some sort of mental health episode at the time.
Natalia thought the vehicle that ran over her was a dark-colored Jeep, and she thought it was a female driving the vehicle.
I authored a search warrant to search that vehicle. It looked like there was a shoe print mark on the passenger side door.
And the dirt that was on the car, it looked like impressions from clothing, like that pattern had been impressed into the side of the car. That really started to bring Nicole into the picture as the suspect.
I figured Nicole Poole would not answer any of our questions. I figured she'd just sit there and say, no, I want an attorney. So we went in there with a more relaxed approach. So I know you were there getting gas. So what happened? What did you do before that? Yeah, what were you driving? What you mean? What color was that? Black. Okay. So what did you do next? You ran over on accident? I was just in awe. I kind of had to pause there for a second and try to get my composure.
Oh my gosh, she just admitted she ran somebody over.
You remember what she looked like? Did you know that she was Mexican when you were unfortunate? Yeah, we saw. Okay. Why didn't you stop? I just asked. I was having anxiety that day, just thinking that she was trying to take people home. So just okay. It's like taking home. What do you mean by taking home? So she was taking over her job. Okay.
She keeps throwing out Mexican, taking our jobs, taking our home. At that point, I mean, it was way more serious than what initially that I thought it was. It was a hate crime.
When you went over the curb, did you accelerate? Did you step on gas? Yeah. Did you do it because she was Hispanic? Did that happen? You did. Okay. And you hoping that your work actually for that person? Okay. At that time, yes, at that time. Is that right? Yes.
When we walked out of the jail, we were both kind of in shock.
Being a minority, I promise you, it hits home.
Our investigators heard from the Des Moines Police Department that they were investigating a case where a car had gone up on the sidewalk and a child had been hit by a car.
And she was the person that did that. We have a single incident, but just expanded and blossomed into this huge pattern of activity that she was doing on the whole west side of Des Moines.
I really fear that if she had not been stopped at that point, that there may have been other victims in other ways. It's really disheartening to see where you can take that rage and turn that toward children who've never done anything to you, who are just walking down the sidewalk, as all of our community's kids do every day. This behavior is not acceptable anywhere, especially in Clive.
It was kind of a relief for us. Oh, great, they did it. They found who did it. But then when they give them the notice why she did it, that was a heartbreaking.
I was just in a state of shock. I didn't know whether to cry or to scream or to just like run away. I knew there was racism in the world, but I never knew that it would happen to me, like 2 blocks away from my house.
My wife and I, we had the idea to leave the country forever, but no one is going to push me away. We stay to prove our kids that they belong here. We can't live in fear, and we can't let that destroy my family.
She was described as having some sort of a mental episode. The mother made a decision to take her up to the hospital to have her checked. The mother and daughter that brought her there left, leaving Rory in the care of the hospital. For whatever reason, she ended up leaving before she was actually seen by a physician. We see her exiting the hospital on her own. That was the last known sighting we had of her.
Communications. I'm a plumber and I'm on site for a job, and we've got we're snaking a drain, and we've been pulling back. We probably pulled back about 10 pounds, 15 pounds of it looks like flesh type of stuff, meat, and we don't know what it is.
The issue started several days before. He didn't want any plumbers called. He tried snaking the drain himself. He was taking efforts to fix it. By the 29th, it was getting so bad, the smell, the pipes were backing up into the people's bathtubs. People upstairs just took it upon themselves to call a plumber. The officers on the scene decided to knock on the door of Adam Strong's basement apartment. They recall him putting his head down and making a comment almost instantaneously that the jig's up. It's a body. He commented to the arresting officer, if you want the rest of her, she's in my freezer, and she's pretty defleshed. And there, in fact, was somebody in the freezer, as Adam said. Rory had a distinct tattoo. She had the word alive tattooed on her neck. And when they looked through the freezer, they found a human head. And there was a tattoo, clearly displayed. I knew right then, yeah, it's Rory. We didn't know at that point what the cause of death was. To lay that charge, you need the grounds. The decision was made to continue our investigation to see where it took us down the road.
Chief said to the officers, if you're looking for the rest of her, you'll find her in the freezer. My question to you is the person in that freezer, Rory? I decline to answer that question. Okay. You're saying you decline to answer if you're shaking your head this way. Does that mean anything? No. Okay. Any interest from you at all in telling us your side of things? No. Nothing? No. Okay. All right. I was told these things go on for like hours. Is that true? Yeah, it's true.
After 3 hours of doing it, it was clear we weren't going to get anywhere. We were just going in circles.
Obviously, you don't care enough to help. Another fishy sauce for you? Why, you want some? No, I'm good. Yeah.
Let's just shut it down now. It's going to sat there for another 3 or 6 hours. I don't think we're going to get anywhere. Really, all I got from that interview was a sense of who Adam was to help us more further down the road with the investigation. It was the worst apartment I've ever been in for clutter and dirt and mess. You can barely move because of a few little walkways in there.
There was a number of sex toys located in the apartment, restraining devices, handcuffs, and whatnot.
There was a bent hammer we had located Rory's DNA on. Rory's running shoes were located in a bag in the apartment. There was blood spatter located on the wall and bottom baseboards leading into Adam's bedroom. That knife's only designed for one use and one use only. It's a knife used by hunters for gutting and skinning animals. To a logical person, it doesn't make sense. You keep all that evidence around, but it seemed to be the way Adam thought. The DNA that was located on that knife, it wasn't through blood. It was tissue-like material. We sent that knife off for analysis. We received the results back. That knife contained the DNA of a second female.
The second victim was a 19-year-old female who went missing in 2008, and very much like Rory, she was out of the house on her own. Both victims were in their late teens, and both victims were more of a petite build, longer, brown hair.
Almost a splitting image of each other. She went missing 10 years prior, and Adam went undetected for 10 years. It makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
I certainly felt some pressure. The reality is, if there was no conviction, then he was a free man.
I have been amazed at how well I've been treated.
certainly checked into how he'd been treated thus far. That's important. Speaks towards admissibility. Addressed any needs that he had, and he said he hadn't eaten, so we took care of that. I certainly knew we couldn't rush into talking to Adam about the case, given the fact how it went with the two detectives back in December of 2017. Sharing a meal with somebody, breaking bread with somebody is a chance to bond and talk. And then once that had gone on for an hour and a half or so, I started to talk about the case a little bit.
How old was Rory? Okay, how much of her body did you guys get back? Obviously the entire skeletal structure, right?
Well, we obviously whatever was in the house.
Yes, in the freezer. Yes. And how much of it were you able to pull out of the pipes?
Quite a bit. It was bad luck.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. They're like, you're stupid. I'm like, you kidding me? That's an awesome way. Yeah. I just got greedy, that's all.
Well, importantly, doesn't react to what most people would perhaps react to, which is, again, a rather shocking thing to say.
Every time there was a little bit of information given to me, maybe even unknowingly by Adam Strong, inside I was giving myself a little fist pump, only because I thought we were advancing the case a little bit here.
So, the 24th is when you start this. You said Christmas Eve. Yes. Are you doing this while it's frozen, or is it partially defrosted? Completely defrosted. Okay. Now that would take several hours. No, I'm not back up full water. Okay. Like a couple hours. I wasn't major. I had to fill the bathtub up a few times. I was taking water. Yes. Gotcha. I don't know if I should be talking about that, but ultimately you got me on the. There's no getting around that. Yeah. True.
He thinks, and they are, only talking about dismemberment and disposal, but in fact it's allowing, in this case, the judge ultimately to make inferences about what must have happened during the actual murders that took place.
All right, well, I did a blast. Yes, I appreciate you sticking around. No, I'm sure I'm going to have a noise. No, but I probably said more than I should have. Probably, yeah. Probably. That's okay.
The judge watched the entire 12-hour interview, went through it, and the ruling came back quite clearly that Strong was well taken care of. He seemed comfortable. His needs were all met. There was no trickery. There was no oppression. This was essentially a slam dunk in terms of admissibility, which is rare for a 12-hour interview.
Adam was convicted of first-degree murder on Rory, and ultimately convicted of manslaughter on the second victim.
Detective Mitten and the investigative team got a first-degree murder charge and a manslaughter with no confession.
There definitely was a danger. They pulled the indignity. So if things went south in that interview room, he may have lost. That would have been a travesty.
It's really tough to describe Adam Strong. I have never met an individual like him. It was a tough investigation, but we speak for the victims. We're trying to bring them justice and give the family answers. The sentence he was given is the maximum sentence you can receive in this country. So yes, I feel justice was served.
I need an emergency right now. Shooting at the corner store next to CBS.
Okay, do you know if anyone's been hit?
Tornado, get an ambulance here, now.
We are. Who was hit?
Some young man. He's bleeding to death. Somebody shot this kid 3 times.
Okay, we got everyone in hospital right now.
This guy's dying.
Okay.
This guy is dying.
The victim was eventually
eventually identified by his identification being found in his wallet as Joseph Edward Ross. He was eventually transported to the hospital where he passed.
Our crime scene comms takes photographs, really documents what's going on. Because there is a lot of activity, crowds start developing. So we start going up to those crowds. Hey, did you see what happened? Did you hear what happened?
The witness at the scene observed the victim walking through the parking lot, talking on a phone and arguing. And shortly thereafter, they observed a red Dodge pickup truck pull into the parking lot.
Do you have any idea what we might be there? Okay, your brother Joe was shot and killed around the corner, over at the corner chain. He was shot? Yes. We're trying to find out what happened to him. You know, he drives like a red Dodge pickup truck. Oh, my friend, he does. Who's that? It's just on back there for him. What does it look like? Is he white or black? He's white. Okay. And he always hangs out with black. Do you know the black Mustang? I think it's Gerald. What else do you know about that? You know, he carries a 30 or a 9 mil. Has he ever gotten into it in the bar before? They argue about a lot of stupid stuff. Nick's really, he seems like he's crazy. I only throw him in the best one.
Jonathan Ross said Nicholas Fair was 23 years old, a small-time drug dealer who was out of work. All the links with red Dodge pickup truck, the history between the two of them, the subject being armed on a regular basis, that obviously then at that point propelled Nicholas Neri to being the suspect that we were looking for.
Before we entered the room to interview Nick, he was sleeping.
This is referred to as the perp nap. Someone who's typically guilty will actually fall asleep in the interrogation room because they're so exhausted from the stress associated with waiting to be arrested.
Hey, Greg. No, I'm Detective Barnett. This is Detective Parsons. You don't want to just sleep. Okay. You have any idea what this is about? No, it's gunpoint, get on the car, grab the car. Yeah, but you know what? You have an idea what left there. Then when you're stopped, you had a couple of guns on you? Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of those shooting range. So turn a corner. The lights on. Now, while we were doing our best, something happened earlier. And we're wondering if you could tell us what happened with you. So for the longest time, is there any reason that your truck would have been at the CVS or running work tonight? No. How was it there? I don't know. The reason it was there is because something happened there.
He's very engaged right now. He's up at the table. He's close in. He's in a very strong position. And at first, I'm back. So I move in to show that I also have a very firm position in my assertion that his vehicle is there. If it seems as though I'm not sure, he'll take that and he'll run with it. And that allows him to have an escape.
You have 3 guns on you tonight. One person, you fire any of them tonight? Okay. Well, let's just say, for example, maybe it's not one of the 3 that you have on. It doesn't alleviate the fact that you're there. When shots are fired, you're alone. You were involved in something at that location, and I'd like to hear your side of what happened.
When he's feeling threatened, he starts to back up. And the hand that he's able to actually goes into his pocket. So it's another defense mechanism that he's using where he's hiding and concealing what actually happened.
You can choose to be deceptive all you want, okay? I've never let me on this side of town. The point about the saying this is that you were there because
People wrote down the tag number of the truck there. Okay? The other truck should have been there. Wasn't my possession. It was there. Wasn't my possession on. But you were there. I wasn't there. You were. How do you know that? Video cameras. You didn't see me on video. How did you stay? So I'm guessing that they had full video around the whole Maryland, around the whole store. I'm not looking at video everywhere. Give me that. At that point, I didn't have video of the shooting, but he's nodding because now he believes it. So with him, I felt comfortable throwing out the bluff in such a way because I didn't think he was going to call me on it, and I thought he would accept it. But explain why the line of stop it. Why did you do what you did? What, the service? Yes. Oh, okay, that's straight up honesty. Okay, he deserved it. He reached nothing. Shot him off his face. He made a more than shot him. No, come on. His true face comes out. And it comes out in grand fashion.
We were speechless. He just didn't care. It was pure evil.
Maybe like, damn consequences need to do this. Yeah, right. Because I use my truck and my camera.
From the very beginning of this investigation, it was a whodunit. And within hours, we had the suspect in custody. We had a confession. We had him charged, and he was on his way to jail. Nick Marion was sentenced to life in prison. That confession showed that he planned to kill Joseph from the very beginning. And it showed his mindset that he did not care.
There's no chance of Nick getting out ever. He'll die in prison, and that's probably best because I do believe that he would kill again if he had the chance.
I was on patrol, and I heard the call come over to dispatch. You could tell by the tone of her voice that it wasn't normal.
Sabrina has a 12-inch bread knife that she is holding in her right hand. She's covered in blood.
I could see blood on the blade. I could see blood on her. Immediately, we started screaming to drop the knife. It almost like snapped her out of whatever she was in back to some type of reality. I kicked it away from her and we put her down on the floor. It was a very tense couple seconds.
The suspect, Sabrina Zunich, she was a 18-year-old foster child of Lisa Knafel. Also inside the house was Megan Zanella and Haley Knafel. Megan being 13 and Haley being 3 years old.
The father, Kevin, was away on a trip. He was a truck driver and he was in Michigan at that point.
Sabrina was in foster care for many years before she came to the Knafels.
Sabrina landing with the Knafels really represented a fresh start for her. She went from a troubled home with their biological father and grandma to a youth shelter where she did not want to be. She's getting along with the family. She's doing great at school. She's not getting in trouble. Things seem to be looking up for her. I couldn't find anything indicating something like this could happen.
our main goal when we first interviewed Sabrina was to get Sabrina to tell us exactly what happened. We caught her coming out of the room, so we knew she did it. We wanted to know why.
What do you recall?
Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
getting done with my homework, going tunnel, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that?
Never went home. Anything unusual happened?
I don't know.
How do you feel about that?
It was a miracle. I mean, you want to know what helped me out. I think I just like I did, and so we made agreements a long time ago. If I did anything, that I go to Kevin about this stuff. Manly has never been the best. She's never seen the left man. She's going to get out of the house.
What's your thoughts on how